The Story Grows. I'm Brad Patton. Today we welcome Cassetta and Pressure Cracks guitarist Kevin Fifield to the podcast. Cassetta recently dropped their latest single, Give Them Nothing. Kevin talks about his love for music and getting into heavy music, the conception of Cassetta, having Bob Bradley's experience in the band, the future of Cassetta, and more. If you're a new listener to the podcast, thanks for checking out this episode, and I would absolutely love it if you hit the subscribe button on your podcast platform of choice. You can find links in the show notes or as thestorygrows.com to the podcast Discord server for our mailing list on Substack, and you can support the show financially and get early access to every episode via Patreon. Enjoy getting to know Kevin from Cassetta.
Now, what goes with it? What think of the image of someone sitting? An old woman can sit. An old man can sit. A chunk can sit. A coward can sit. Anything can sit. Well, you and I have been sitting long enough, and it's time today for us to start doing some standing and some fighting the back.
I talked to what's his name? Whoever's playing drums with In Flames, like 2 years ago.
Oh, sweet.
Which was cool, but they're like, "You want to interview In Flames?" And I'm like, "Hell yeah!" And I'm doing all this.
Yeah.
And they're like, "It's the brand new drummer," and I'm like, "Oh, all my questions, just throw them out the window." You're
Yeah.
just
It
like,
was
okay,
like, how was it writing Clayman?
right. Tell me about your. Oh, you're just on this album. Great.
Yeah.
Wonderful.
That's so awesome. I love
Yeah.
In Flames.
Yeah,
That band
they're great.
rules.
Yeah, they are. You know, any band with longevity, even if they make an album you don't like or like they change their sound, it's just like those dudes are kicking it. What, like,
Dude.
Andrews has got to be like 50 in his 50s, right? Like,
Yeah.
like good for him, right? Like, who cares if he wants to make like a ballad rock record? Like, do it. Like,
Yeah. The latest album though is so brutal, and it
so
feels
good,
like
yeah.
it feels like it's going back to like
yeah,
early 2000s In Flames. Like,
Yeah.
it's so good.
yeah, yeah. I'm a big fan. Well, awesome, man. Well, glad you're here.
Yeah, thanks for having me on.
Yeah. For a moment, I was like, didn't this band go through lineup changes? And that was Fake Figures, which is Bob's other band. I was like,
Yeah.
oh no, that's the other band.
I filled in for Fake Figures for one show.
Nice.
Yeah, I've known Bob for a while.
Yeah.
Like, just from the scene out here, he's a good dude.
Yeah. It seems like I don't know if it's because there's name ID in the band or just like because Bob is like he does PR and that's what he does, but it's like instantly getting the name out there and it's like we're a new band, boom, on the PRP, right? Like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I was stoked. Like, it's definitely been a long time. I've been sitting on a lot of these riffs for a very long time.
Yeah.
So I'm stoked that it's getting out there.
Yeah. That's cool. Are you in California?
I am. So I live in Long Beach.
Okay.
So, yeah, I've lived in Chicago for a little stint, but yeah, mainly California my whole life. What about you? Where are you from?
I'm in DC.
Okay.
I grew up just outside DC in the suburbs and
Nice.
lifelong East Coaster. Spent some time in Philly, but yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I used to go out to DC a lot for work.
Oh,
But yeah, the scene is insane there. I mean, you got all the great bands that came out of DC.
Yeah. Yeah, it's fun. When I was first getting into like punk rock and hardcore, it's like all the bands were like in California. You're like, fuck, I got to go out there. And then someone's like, you know about Fugazi? And I was like,
Yeah.
oh, it's right here. Our
Yeah.
place from here. You're like, oh.
I mean, California was definitely spoiled in like the early 2000s. Like, we had so many great bands, but same thing with like New York and New Jersey. Like, God forbid, out of New Jersey was that that band rules.
Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, and then you got Minor Threat, Fugazi. I don't know, like a lot of good bands. There's still bands popping up that are amazing. Like,
Yeah.
it's so cool.
Yeah. Yeah. The scene here is, I don't know. It's interesting being older in the scene because it's like, I mean, doing this podcast, I know a lot of young bands and I get to go to shows and that's cool, but it's like, you know, it's hard to be connected with like what's happening locally when you're older. And I'm not like, I used to write a music column, so I knew what was happening. I don't have that now. I'm just like, I don't know. I can't go to a basement show. I can't be grandpa at a basement show, right? Like, when dad walks in, it's uncool, right?
I mean, that seems like where the scene's going, though. There's a lot of like, it's going back to like really random places to play, like really small places,
which is cool and I think healthy because like, I don't know, the scene got really popular and moved all into the clubs, but like all the smaller clubs didn't seem to make it out of COVID, and all the mid-sized clubs got bought up by fucking Live Nation. And so it's like, if you're a hardcore band who wants to tour, where are you going to go? Like, you got to find the new youth center, right? Like,
like, well, it seems like there's a resurgence though, which is cool. Like, I mean, it's hopefully it continues. I mean, there's a lot of bands. Like, who knew Knock Loose was going to get as big as they did?
Yeah,
like that. Heavy music is
Knock Loose, Lorna Shore, and like Turnstile blowing up in 22 and 23. Who'd have thought, right? Like, it's
amazing. I love it.
Yeah, it's wonderful. What got you into music?
So it started with my dad. He played guitar, so he was always like playing, noodling around on a guitar when I was growing up, and then I started skateboarding a lot, so got into like the punk rock, more of that scene, then started getting more into like Minor Threat and Gorilla Biscuits, and then went really crazy. I got into the Locust for a little bit, and then my buddy showed me Slipknot, and I was like, oh, this rules. And then but yeah, I started playing guitar around, I don't know, like 12, like trying to play with my dad. And then I started like playing with friends that I met in high school and like junior high, and kind of went from there. Never really stopped.
Yeah. I imagine like there's a good scene out in Long Beach, California area, but was it more punk? Was there like a diverse scene?
So I got more into like, so I was in the like Throwdown and 18 Visions into those bands. So I was constantly going to Chain Reaction and Showcase Theater that was out here, which sadly Showcase Theater didn't make it. That venue kind of changed my life. And then I don't know, it was like the scene out here was cool because in the early 2000s, like when I really got into like going to hardcore shows, it like seemed like everyone was like, would bring you in, like, here, come listen to this band, come and listen to this band. And met a lot of people that way. And then just started playing with different people in the scene and kind of went from there. But it's awesome. Still seems like it's going that route, because I met Connor through other bands, and then now he's singing in this band, so it's really awesome. Like, so, but yeah, it's hardcore. I don't think I'll ever grow out of it. I think I'll be 55, 60 still dressing in all black and listening to screaming music.
It's earlier today I put on a Zayo 7-inch, and it was like playing, and my son, he's 7, he was like, it sounds like a skeleton is singing. I was like, yes it does.
Zayo's having a resurgence too. I just saw them maybe like 6 months ago, and they're better than ever. I've been seeing them, oh man, like 2018 in Philadelphia, but they were crushing. But it's funny, that's one of those bands, like when I was in high school and like all the Zayo drama was happening, like you'd be on like, you know, Fine Print Mag or hxc.com message boards, people would be like, yeah, Zayo's cool, but those dudes are Christian, so fuck them. And you'd be like,
but they're and now people are like, no, Zay was cool.
They put out the heaviest records. It's so great.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's like eventually you're just like, okay, they're just a really good band, and
Yeah.
that other stuff matters, and everybody gets older, and all that belief goes by the wayside.
Yeah. It definitely goes in scenes. Like it's weird, but one band gets popular and then tries. I don't know, a lot of band. I don't know, the sound. I mean, this is kind of where Cassetta is coming from. Is like we wanted to write the heaviest stuff we can, and like I feel like there's not a lot of that out in California right now. It's like, but so we're trying to do something that's a little bit different, but it's like we're all have our jobs and everything, but like this is an outlet like for us to be as aggressive as possible. Like
yeah, it's like a cool, like what sucks about the music industry now is how oversaturated and short attention span everybody is these days. But it's like it's cool that like you can have a job and be a dad and just like have life, but like you could still make music and put it out, and like if you want to play shows, you can play shows, but there's no pressure to like have a label or tour or sell 1 million copies of your CD, right?
Yeah, I would have never thought that it would have gone this route, because when I was in Scars for a little bit as well and touring, and it felt like you needed a label like back in 2006 to like push and get distribution and everything, but now like the internet has changed the game. Yeah, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, everything's been upended.
Yeah, well, with like I have a good friend, his name's Dan, like I play in another band with him, and he showed me kind of how to get around in Pro Tools, and that's kind of like how, I don't know, during COVID, like you couldn't really do too much, so we're like, hey, let's just write music, and I'll show you how to program drums, and here you go.
Yeah. Once you can learn to program drums, it like, I don't know, for me, it unlocked my ability to like play guitar, because you're just like, you have these ideas but don't know where to go, but you throw up a beat and you're just like, I don't know, it unlocks and you're just like, oh yeah.
That's totally it. Like, cause you hear the drums in your head and then you're like, but you show someone just the guitar riff, it may not get over.
Yeah.
Like, but when there's like drums behind it, they're like, oh my God, this is awesome. Like, that's kind of where like the Cassetta came from there. Like my other bands did that too. And like, then we get in a room and we jam them out, and like it just comes to life. Yeah, I think it makes it easier at the end of the day.
Yeah, because you can have something that's more fully formed that you can show somebody, as opposed to like, all right, here's my riff. Let's spend the next 4 hours trying to see what we could do with this. Yeah, and it's just like, here's the thing: everybody learn your part and show up.
Yeah, it's cool though. It was definitely, so I've never. Obviously, I'm like still so new to like Pro Tools and everything. I'm nowhere near like a producer or anything, but it's definitely changed the game for me as well. Yeah, like being able to even like get better as a guitar player. I'm like, how can I play to a click? Like, let's see how this works.
Yeah, learning to do that as a drummer was like, it took a while, because it's just like a skill you have to learn, but then it's just like so second nature. And like it helped my guitar playing, it helps your drumming, and you're just like, what do you mean you don't play to a metronome? Like, how did you survive?
That's what Alex says too. Like he's like, okay, what's the tempo of these songs? I'm like, it kind of fluctuates, but we'll go from there.
It's so funny. Let's talk about Cassetta. How'd this project either get started, or how'd you get involved with it?
So I've had these riffs forever. Like I've always wanted to be in a really heavy band, like Disembodied meets like Blood Has Been Shed. So I started like programming them out, and I was like, oh, I have I knew Bob. He wasn't really doing a whole lot with Fake Figures, so I was like, you want to be in the band? Let's jam these out. And Mark too, like who's the other guitar player, he's in another band, and we were jamming around. I was like, hey, I want to do something that's just beyond heavy. What do you think of these? And then I knew Connor was kind of like in limbo, but his voice, I always thought his voice ruled, and I thought it would fit this project perfectly. So I hit them all up, and they were like, "Yes, let's do this. These songs are great." And we were looking for a drummer, and Bob knew. I've known Alex from the scene, but it wasn't like it was more of just like meeting him in passing. But Bob knew him like pretty well, so he was like, "Yeah, Alex would be perfect for this."
Nice.
And it just all worked out, and we started recording songs. We have 4 songs that we're going to release in like the fall, I think. And yeah, we're just trying to put together the heaviest stuff we can.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where'd the name come from?
It was something that Connor had. So it's actually like an old torture device, like where you put people like in this little box and you would confine people's feet and then like it would end up crushed, But I was like, that's awesome. Let's use that. And like, and then, yeah, it's kind of unusual too. Like it's not something that you hear all the time, but, and then everyone just calls us cassette. Like, I'm like, oh yeah, we'll put out tapes. That's cool too. Like,
yeah, when I was on the Bandcamp earlier, I saw you had the cassette. I was like, oh, I need one of those.
Yeah.
Has it helped, like, in kind of with the band and releasing music, having Bob on the team, because he has this like experience from a PR side and release where he could be like, yo, this is how things work these days and how to get your name out there and how to release the singles?
Yeah, it definitely helps. Like I'm dumb when it comes to that stuff. Like I don't do a lot of social media or anything, so him knowing all that it's great to have. Like, and yeah, he's just such a good dude, and he wants to put out good music too, and then like he just knows that side of things. Like it's I wouldn't know what to do. Like I would just be like, here it is. Like
right. It's such a weird thing where it's like, the social media side, and it's like people who just release one song at a time versus albums, and it's just like, you're an old hardcore guy. You're just like, no, let's put out the 7-inch and then let's put out the full length, and then we'll do an EP. Let's just like, and it's like, no, you got to slow your roll and like be in people's faces 24/7. It's kind of annoying, but also like, you're not torn. So
yeah. And I don't think any of us, like, obviously I have 2 kids. Bob has kids. We all have full-time jobs. So it's going to be hard for us to tour. We might do dates here and there. Like I mean, I want to play as much as possible with that we can. And like, but yeah, it's definitely harder when you get older and have responsibilities. Yeah. Wish I was 18 all over again.
Right. Right. I was telling someone, it's like, you have this musical resurgence as you get older, and you're just like, I needed this when I was younger, when I had the time to do it, and not now when I'm burdened with responsibility.
Yeah. It's so crazy. But it was interesting. I'm glad I toured and did all that in my life. I don't know if I could sleep in a van anymore. Like,
right.
But I definitely, I don't know, like thinking of life without playing shows and like going to shows, and like, I don't know what it'd be weird. It'd be like a void that's not filled.
Yeah.
So
it's funny because I still go to shows and I take photos and I'm just up there in front of the barrier, but like everybody's probably 20 years younger than I am, and I'm oh, okay. Don't mind me and my old camera.
Yeah, I'm like, just don't run on my head, please. Right. But yeah, it's I just saw Terror not too long ago, and it seems like Scott is still doing his thing, which is awesome. Yeah. Like that band was so good. And their last record is amazing.
It was really great. Yeah.
Cause I loved Buried Alive, and then Terror came out to LA and like started doing stuff out here early 2000. I was like, oh my gosh, this is great. Like,
yeah.
So
yeah. You also play in Pressure Cracks with Jason Butler. How'd you get involved with that band?
So me and Dan Dan's the other guitar player of Pressure Cracks. We've been playing in bands since we were like 15, like together. It's interesting. Like most of the bands I've been in, Dan's been the other guitar player. So we've always done like melodic hardcore, like Shai Hulud style. Yeah. And then we were writing something heavier, like Pressure Cracks. And we have a good friend named Billy Galvin who plays drums in that. And Dan knows Jason really well. Like I knew Jason from the scene too. Like he lives in El Segundo, or he did, and like, or not, somewhere Inglewood, El Segundo, and like Dan was like, "Oh yeah, let's ask Jason to do this," because Let Live was breaking up right then.
Oh yeah.
So and Jason said yes. Here's the music, and was like, "Yeah, let's do something heavy," and it just kind of came together. Yeah, Jason's such a great dude too. Like his voice is unbelievable. Like so insane.
You guys just released this brand new single, Give Them Nothing. Cassetta. You said you have a few more songs in the work. Is the goal to like put out an EP later this year and then just kind of see what happens?
Yeah, so we're looking probably late summer, early fall for 4 songs that we have recorded. We're just doing finishing touches there, and then we're gonna get them mixed and mastered. But yeah, they're like Give Them Nothing, just trying to go as heavy as possible. Yeah. It was cool to see Give Them Nothing come out because it was like slightly different than the first 2 songs that we put out, and just it seems like it's getting heavier and heavier, and we're kind of finding our little groove with these songs. Mm-hmm. So we'll see where it goes. Hopefully people like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you releasing music in such small chunks, it's like if you tweak your sound or change or do something different for like, 2 songs, it's like it's its own standalone thing as opposed to, an album's worth of shifting, what you might do, right?
Yeah, and I don't know, my attention span is so short, and probably everyone's is. So I don't know, I feel like EPs are a good, like here we are, here's what we're doing right then and there, and like at least for us, like maybe we'll put out a full length. I mean, we have other stuff like that's demoed out, and we'll see where those go.
Yeah.
But Alex gets so busy with POD, I think he's going to be like really swamped this year. But
on the tour.
Yeah, that's cool for them. I was stoked to see that. I was like, this is awesome. I saw them maybe last year. I went with Connor and we saw him play, and I was like, holy crap, this is great. It feels like they haven't missed a beat either, and people are loving it, and I'm stoked for them. But yeah, we'll see. Like if he has some time, I think we'll record the stuff and see what happens. I think we're just trying to put out as much as we can.
Yeah. Is the idea to remain kind of independent, or are you like looking for maybe some label to come along and throw something on wax or tape?
I mean, it would be awesome. Like we are, I don't know. Like we'll see. Like we can do a lot of the stuff ourselves. So it's like, it's pretty awesome that we control everything as a band. But I would love to have the distribution that's behind some of these like record labels. But I mean, it's going to be hard for us because we're not going to really tour. We're just going to like probably play shows here and there, maybe like do a couple days on the East Coast, hopefully later this year. And then we'll see. I mean, we're kind of just taking it a step at a time, trying to write as heavy songs as we can. And hopefully, thanks for having me on and like let me tell you about Cassetta. It's pretty cool.